Hello and welcome to our 254th episode of these audio sessions. Today we will discuss a question from Susie, Vossi and Pacino, our students in Germany. They have asked a little bit of a longer question, which is written in German. So I just took the liberty to take out the essential parts. And so I will divide this question into two different topics. One I will discuss today, one in the next session. So the first topic can be boiled down to the question of how meditation contributes to raise the quality of relationships. So how is it beneficial to your relationship if both of you or only one of you are meditating? So, meditation, of course, comes with a whole set of spiritual practices. You can't just expect to meditate without really changing your life or your mind or your behavior. So it is really an important topic, actually, because it touches on the question of how our meditation practice actually impacts other people's minds, other people's emotions, other people's behavior, other people's life, really. And it does do that. So it is a mistake to assume that our meditation practice has no impact on the world whatsoever. It actually does have a significant impact. And I think in a relationship, this becomes really clear and really visible, because we spend a lot of time together with our wives or husbands or girlfriends, boyfriends. And while we're spending time together, we are sharing ourselves with them. So this is something that we really can't help but doing. We are always sharing ourselves with the rest of this world. Our presence in this world has an impact. It does something to your environment. You being here does something to other people. Now, if you are here and you are in a good mood, it has an impact on other people. That impact, now this is important, is not necessarily a good mood within other people. It might be that you're in a good mood and it really annoys the other person that's in the room with you. So that is certainly possible. But it will still have an impact on the other person. So your state of mind, your emotional state, and your physical state is a cause. And it is a condition. It conditions other people's minds, other people's emotions, and other people's physical presence. How it conditions them, this is hard to say. This is kind of a thing that's unpredictable. You can't really say, okay, let me make you happy with my happy mood. Very often you have couples, for example, where the one person in the morning is really grumpy, is not a morning person, and the other one is a morning person. And so that there is a potential for conflict, right? The one that is a morning person gets up in the morning with a smile and, they have a happy, great time, and the other person is super annoyed by their happiness. So here you have a classic example of conditioning. My happiness is a cause, and it acts as a conditioning factor. And it influences the state of mind, the state of the emotional state, and the physical state of the other person. How it does that, it's kind of not our business, you could say. What is our business, however, is what we do within our own mind, within ourselves, to do that as nicely and as skillfully as possible. I think that is the topmost priority. When you're in a relationship and you're practicing meditation, both of you, then your priorities for both of you is to put your mind into a wholesome or skillful state and to advance on the spiritual path, meaning to advance on a path that leads you out of suffering. The less suffering you carry with you, the less your suffering conditions your own emotions, your own body, and your environment, the people around you. That is something very kind. You could say that is very kind. You're basically liberating the world around you, your partner, from your suffering. So they do not have to endure your tension, your stress, your depression, your weakness, laziness, your lack of commitment, all this kind of stuff. They don't have to put up with that. So the less baggage you carry around with yourself, the less impact your baggage will have on the relationship. So see it maybe in terms of suffering. How much suffering do you contribute to the relationship? Meaning, how much suffering do you carry within your heart? You could think of your mind as a house or a garden. And so the question is your house a place where people feel comfortable or where they feel good? If you tell your partner, the one that you love, that's in a relationship with you, I love you and I give you a place in my heart. Now, that's a very nice thing to say. It's very romantic. But the question is here, how is the condition of your heart? So how is the condition of your mind? Is your mind really a place that people would love to stay in? If your mind was actually a house, would the rooms be crowded? Would they be stinky, maybe really bad smell in them? Would they be nice and pleasant? Or are they constantly changing as well? If you look at your own mind and you study your own mind, then you will notice very quickly that the mind is a phenomenon that is continuously changing. It is subject to change. It isn't stable. It doesn't stay the same. So of course then sometimes you feel happy, sometimes you feel sad, sometimes you feel stressed, other times you feel relaxed. So it's constantly moving. The mind is always in motion. It is a process, very much like a river. You also cannot find a still point in the flowing water of the river. There's a continuous change. So such a changing mind, how would that be to be in such a changing mind? Now the mood goes up, now the mood goes down, now there is a positive thought, then there comes a negative thought, then there is some hope, then there is some fear, and it's constantly changing environment. So the more, of course, your mind is busy and changing, the more unpleasant it would be for anyone to dwell in there, for anyone to just find some peace and rest in there. So if you want to offer a place of your heart to someone, then you want to make sure that your heart is well cleaned, that it is smelling good, that, like, just coming back to the example of a room or a house, right? That it's smelling good, that it looks nice, that you actually have some space in there for someone to sit, that it's not just completely stuffed with furniture and things. Or trash maybe. So it would be really important to have enough space in your heart for someone to be there. If your heart is unavailable, if it is crowded and if it is filled with all kinds of stuff, then there is no space for anyone else. And you know what? The other person, they will feel that. They will sense that on some level. They will sense your unavailability. They will sense that you're constantly busy with yourself, with your stuff, with your thoughts, with your emotions, with this, with that, with your past, your future. That you're so crowded, so full in your head, in your mind, that you don't really have any time for the other person. Because you're already occupied. You're already, your attention is not with them. It's with yourself most of the time. And to anyone who does some serious spiritual practice, for anyone who has taken a serious good look at their own mind, they will have to admit that their content of their mind is, in 99.9% of the cases, it's about themselves. It's about me. And if it is about other people, very often, it is about how other people are relating to me. My role in a group of people. My role in this relationship. My feelings. My thoughts. My this. My that. It's all about me. Do you see? That there is no space for another person. Not at all. And here's the good news. A relationship gives you the opportunity to create space for another being. It means it's an opportunity to let go of self-absorption, of being constantly absorbed in thoughts and emotions and feelings about yourself. The less self you have in your mind, the more space you create for others, the more you are able to create space for reality, for this world, for this moment, the more you will be at ease. That ease arises simply as a result of letting go of constantly thinking of yourself, your future, your past, your job, your family, my this, my that, all this. If you let that go, you suddenly have space. And that space is pleasant. It's nice. It's nice to just be here. When it's nice to share time with someone. Which is a perfect reason for a nice relationship. It's nice to share time with someone that loves you. It's nice to share time with somebody that cares about you. It is nice to share attention with each other. It is nice to share silence. It is nice to just be with each other. You had a hard day, you come back from work, and you had a few crappy experiences during that day. It's nice to cuddle up with your significant other. It's good to have somebody that catches you when you fall, etc. All these are valid reasons to be in a relationship and to spend time together. These are important reasons. People are social beings. They need to relate to one another. And so, if we relate with one another, then make sure that the relationship, the way you relate to someone, comes from a good place. And that is what meditation does. It puts you in a good space, puts you in a good place. It's a bit like cleaning up your house. What you do when you meditate is you still the mind. So you get rid of all the clutter. You get rid of all the stuff in your house that's old, that doesn't smell good anymore, that's kind of old trash or something like that. You bring out the trash. You throw away furniture that just crowds up the room. You create space. You make sure to put some nice lights in there. And you make it a beautiful place to be in. A place where people feel welcome and warm. First and foremost, of course, you want to feel at ease in your own house. And most people, they are unable to feel at ease with themselves. They have a lot of stress. They are not relaxed. They're completely tense and so forth. So that's an indicator that you need to do some work. You're not at ease in your own house. That's bad news. And the good news is that you could do some meditation practice. You can take it very far. And you can create a wonderful place for yourself to be in. So you become your own refuge. You can lean on yourself. You don't have to lean on other people anymore. You can fully lean on yourself. You become stable. Your mind turns into an adult mind. You're at ease. You're happy within yourself. You have no problem spending time by yourself. You can literally just sit around and enjoy without doing anything. You don't have to do anything to distract yourself away from yourself. You don't have to look into your phone. You don't have to look into a magazine. You don't have to get engaged in conversations. You could just simply sit there on a bench in the park maybe, and just simply sit there and feel happy, feel at ease. Or you might stand in a queue, or you sit in the waiting room of your doctor, and you're just happy. You don't need to distract your mind or your attention outwardly. You don't need to look away from yourself. In fact, you can simply rest there within yourself. And that is an awesome contribution to any relationship. A person that is fully at ease within themselves. If you can share that with your partner, I would call that a loving gesture. Or really just love. You share your own happiness, your fulfillment, your ease, your wisdom, your skill with your partner. You're not sharing your confusion, your sadness, your anger, your restlessness, but you share a being that is whole, that is at ease. And that's what meditation essentially does. When you practice any spiritual discipline, any spiritual technique, hopefully the goal of that is to put you into a state of ease, to help you to let go of suffering gradually, up to more and more refined levels. And you share the absence of suffering with anyone that you're spending time with. You're not a walking problem, so to say. You're not bringing your baggage and problems into a relationship. That is love, in my opinion. I'm not bothering you with my endless demands. I'm not putting you into a golden cage so that you do what I need you to do so that I can be happy. It's often quite interesting if you ask yourself, what actually is love? Can I define it? Well, some people would say, no, we don't need to define love. Love is undefinable. It's a mystical experience. There's no words for it. And other people say, I don't know how I could define it. It's actually quite hard to define it. Other people would give you a definition. Well, loving means caring for someone or something like that. But if you ask 100 people, then you might get 100 different answers, 100 variations of maybe a few types of answers. So what is it that you do when you love someone? What is it that your mind does? What does it actually mean when you say to someone, honey, I love you? What state is your mind in? How does it move? What does it intend in that moment? And if you're very, very honest, for most people, loving someone means liking someone very, very much. Now, why would I like someone? I like someone because they benefit me in some way. I might say, I like you because your eyes are beautiful. So then I receive benefit through looking at their eyes. Well, looking at your eyes makes me feel good. Therefore, I like you very, very much. It's a bit simplistic, of course. But you get the point, right? It's a bit more like consumption in that way. It's like, I love you because you give me something that makes me feel amazing. If you would not give me that thing that makes me feel amazing, I'd have a really hard time to say I love you. In fact, if you turn it around and make it the opposite, if you make me feel really, really bad, I would never say I love you. Because I don't like something that makes me feel bad. I don't want to spend time with someone or something that makes me feel bad. I want to get away from them. I want to divorce from it. So, if we are completely honest, then very often that statement, I love you, is a bit like saying, look, I make you responsible for my happiness, so I want to keep you around. And I want to make you do what you're supposed to do to keep making me happy. That's your job. You need to make me happy. And if you stop doing that, I kind of, my liking goes down. The temperature of my liking goes down. And if you keep doing those things that upset me and annoy me and make my life difficult and hard, then at some point I say, well, I don't feel love anymore. So the liking very, very much has turned into liking a little, and then it turns into disliking. Now I'm seeking to divorce from you. I think, oh, you've become the reason for my suffering now, therefore I need to get away from you. That, in my opinion, is not love. That's like ordinary liking. It is attachment. I say, I make you responsible for my happiness in whatever imaginable ways, but you are the one that makes me happy. As long as you behave in a certain way. If you don't behave in that way, I have a hard time. So this is very, very conditional, isn't it? And it puts the other person very often into a very uncomfortable kind of cage. It's like putting a singing bird into a cage, and I put it into the cage so I can hear it sing. So it doesn't get away from me. I want to hold on to it. And I want to make it perform the way I think it should perform so I can feel good. And very often then relationships turn into this ugly mess of trying to manipulate the other person into doing what they're supposed to do, which is to make you happy. And then of course we start to feel less and less free if we're on the other end. We feel like manipulated and we feel unloved because all the attention of the lover is actually with themselves. I want to benefit. I want to get something from you, and you're supposed to give me that. When someone enters the spiritual path, I think one of the first really important insights is the responsibility that we all have. I am responsible for my happiness, and I'm responsible for my suffering. And if I take that responsibility and I start making myself happy, by, for example, practicing meditation regularly, by treating myself well and skillfully, then when we take that responsibility, then we slowly grow out of this idea that other people and other things are responsible for our happiness. We stop leaning on other people and other things. We stop demanding. We stop wanting something from them, because everything you could ever wish for, everything you could want, it is already within you. And so then some people wonder, then why have a relationship if I am only responsible for my happiness? If the other person is kind of just hanging around there, but I'm making myself happy, well, then I would say you have a relationship to learn. There's two reasons for me, okay? That's just personally me. The first reason is a relationship gives you the chance to receive feedback. So somebody can show you clearly where you're giving your responsibility away, where you're suffering. And then on the other hand, it gives you the opportunity to share with the other person, to give, not to demand, not to ask for, but to give your own absence of suffering, your own absence of problem, your presence, your purity of mind and heart, to share that with the other person. So for me, a relationship is very much like a training. Love is very much like a training. It is not something that you fall into or that happens to you. I think love is very much something that can be and should be trained. And a relationship is a training ground. It shows you how much of your power and your responsibility you're actually giving away to others. How much you're making others responsible for your feelings. And at the same time, it gives you the opportunity to share your wholeness with the other person, your attention. To take away the attention from being self-absorbed to opening up, to becoming more spacious. That's the opportunity. And then besides that, it's just nice to be in a relationship. And of course, it's only nice if you are nice, if your mind is nice, if your heart is nice, if everything is comfortable within yourself, then of course a relationship is very nice. And if it isn't nice, well, then you have some nice feedback there. It's still nice because it gives you feedback on where you need to do some more training. Where is your weakness? And it's really wonderful to have someone in your life that shows you where you need to heal. And if you both do that together, if you both encourage each other to look within, then that relationship is really a field for growth. It is something that is very special, very extraordinary. Well, most relationships are just about giving away responsibility, making others responsible for our happiness, finding someone to lean on, meaning completely ignoring and neglecting oneself. Instead, I encourage all of you who are listening to that to reflect on that carefully and to see, if I look at myself with honesty, how do I relate to other people? How much of this relating is all about me? And how much of this relating to others is actually about them? How much of me relating to myself is actually wholesome, relaxing, and kind? And how much of me relating to myself is actually aggressive, pushy, and uncomfortable? How much of the time of one day do I need to distract myself away from myself? And how much of the time during the day am I just really comfortable being with myself in stillness? Honestly, ask yourself these questions and see where they take you. So to summarize that real quick, for me, a relationship is a training ground. And if both of you are practicing meditation, this training is fully fulfilled. Meditation is a path that leads you out of suffering. So the less suffering you carry around with you, the less suffering you're sharing with those you love. That in itself is an act of love, liberating yourself and others from your burden, from your suffering, from your pain. That's why meditation contributes to raising the quality of a relationship significantly, especially if both are doing it regularly. So that's all that comes to mind now for this question, how meditation contributes to raising quality of a relationship. If you do have any other questions, feel free to ask them. You can always write them down in the comment section or write me a private message. So for now, I will finish the session and wish all of you a wonderful week and hear you again on Thursday. Bye-bye.